Awesome. So hi, everyone. Welcome to the City Builder room. My name is Faith, and I'll be the host for today's panel. So I would like to begin by gratefully acknowledging that Science World is located on the traditional and unceded Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh village site of Sinnock. We will start today with a quick introduction from our amazing group of mentors, followed by a hosted discussion. So if you have questions for the mentors, please feel free to put those in the chat at any time, and we will hopefully be able to get those answered for you. So our technician today is Jenny, and she will be monitoring the chat. And if you have any technical issues, they would be happy to assist you as well. And we ask that you keep your comments in the chat and keep them respectful and relevant to the topics being discussed. Awesome. And we have a hi from Alice from Vancouver. It's awesome to have you joining us. And a hi from Hale. So thank you both for commenting. Okay, so now it is time to meet our mentors, and we're going to start by going around and doing a brief introduction before we jump into the questions. So mentors, if you could turn on your cameras, and we will bring you up on screen. Awesome. Hi, Effie.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Phyllis.
Hi, Faye.
Hi, Lindsay. Awesome. And I see that Jenna from Surrey just commented. And Jenna, we're very happy you're here as well. And Karen from Courtenay. Awesome. So thank you all for letting us know you're here and where you're from. We're very excited to have you with us. So for mentors, I was hoping to get to know each of you. If you could let us know your name, job title, and the thing you love most about your career. And Effie, if we could start with you and then go to Phyllis and then Lindsay.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Affy. My job is a geospatial analyst. My favorite thing about my career and my job specifically is that I get to make maps all day, and I love maps.
Sounds very fun. Thank you, Affy. Phyllis, if you could.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Phyllis Chong. Currently, I teach at BCIT, and my background is actually a bridge engineer, so I used to design bridges. And my favorite thing about engineering is actually inspiring other people to pursue engineering.
Awesome. Thank you, Phyllis. And Lindsay?
Hi, my name is Lindsay, and I'm a bridge designer. So my career is mostly about like checking the bridges to make sure they're healthy and also design them. So my favorite part about my job is going to a site inspection, like checking the bridges, because they're for most of the time they're located in a nice place.
Very glad we have people checking the bridges as well. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you all. And yeah, as Brian was saying in the chat, if any of you who are watching have questions for any of the mentors, please feel free to ask them, and I'm sure they would be happy to answer the questions you have. So we will get started though by asking them, how did you get started in this career? So Phyllis, I'm not sure if you feel like starting us off with that. How did you get started in your career?
Sure. Actually, I got started because I really loved the sciences when I was growing up. I was pretty good at math, pretty good at the sciences, but I really loved both of those things. And I wanted to do something that was macroscopic so that people can see, that I can actually see, and then point to it and say, hey, I worked on that. So that was a big reason why I started with bridge engineering. And I mean, transferring into teaching is because I think that I've done enough in my career that I wanted to now bring that and inspire other people to pursue similar careers.
Oh, very cool. I love your passion for inspiring others. That's really great to have. Affy, do you want to let us know next? How did you get started in your career?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. I had a slightly more roundabout way of getting there. When I went to university, I thought I wanted to be in the arts and do writing and creative stuff. But I've also always been passionate about design and kind of more technical things. And I eventually realized that I can do both of those things. And yeah, I've loved maps ever since I was very young. Like I used to just draw maps when I was a kid. And then I took some courses in cartography and GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems, and decided to pursue that. And now I'm doing that.
That's really awesome. And do you have a lot of control over the design of the maps you're making, or the colors, or like all of the aesthetics of that?
Yeah, almost all of it, depending on what the maps are for. Sometimes there are standards, like I'm sure Lindsay and Phyllis might have seen some maps that people in my position have made. The maps for more technical things, like where a bridge is gonna go, that has kind of standards for how you would draw the map elements, like the bridge or the color of the roads. Those will be standard. But if I'm making something for public engagement, like if I'm making a map to show someone how to walk around a festival, then that I can color it however I want.
That is really cool. Thank you, Afi. Lindsay, if you could let us know next, how did you get started in your career?
Actually, I didn't have a clear mind like what I'm going to work with before 12. Oh, sorry, before 20 actually. So I just got into the university. I applied engineering just because my father, my dad, he's an engineer. And then moving on to the second year, somehow I got into a co-op program, which is very helpful for me to find a clear career path. So like because I didn't know like what to pick after I entering civil engineering or engineering, then I got to choose a lot of disciplines like in like contractor. I work with contractor. I work with our architect, and also project owner, like provincial governments. And then I got into the firm I'm working at right now, and I met a great mentor. He taught me a lot of things, great things about bridges, and then guide me through the world of bridge. And then I've just fallen in love with the bridges, and that's where I am. Yeah.
Awesome. They are so beautiful. I can see how you fell in love with them. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lindsay. And Afi, we have a question for you from, I believe, Jenna from Surrey, and they are wondering what kind of maps you make.
Yeah, that's a great question. I make so many different types of maps, which is also another really fun part of my job, is that I don't get bored. You don't usually make the same map twice. One of the big things that I work on is called an official community plan. So cities, when they are deciding how to grow in the future, they come up with a plan for their future called an OCP, an official community plan. So I make the maps for a lot of these. So I will kind of, with the computer, when I say draw out, I'm not actually physically drawing it. It's all on a computer. I'll draw out their vision for the future. So that's one type of map I make. Some other times we make maps for, I'm not sure if anybody, I know some of you aren't from Vancouver, but there's something called the East Side Culture Crawl, where a bunch of artists in Vancouver open their studios so that the public can come and see where they make their art. So my company also made the maps for the East Side Culture Crawl, showing where each studio is on a map. Yeah, lots of stuff like that.
That sounds great. Yeah, it must be fun to have so much variability and new things to do.
Yeah.
That's really great. How long does it take you to make a map? What's the general timeline?
It depends. Sometimes I like to challenge myself and see how fast I can do it. So it depends. Sometimes if I have to draw, like if if I don't have the data already and I have to draw out the streets independently, like each one by one, that'll take a lot longer. If I already have it and I'm just doing the colors and the design, then it'll be a lot quicker. So it could go anywhere from like 30 minutes to like 4 hours, maybe even longer than that, depending on how many edits I have to do to it. Yeah.
Very neat. I actually thought it would take way longer. It's cool to know that you can like make something that thorough in like that amount of time.
It did take practice to get here,
Yeah.
but yes, it's faster than you think. I honestly think the edits to it take longer than actually making it. You always make one version and then my coworkers or my boss or the client has something they want changed, and then we change it like 15, 20 times until we get it exactly how we want it to look.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Awesome. Thank you, Effie. And then we also have a question, I believe, from Alice in Vancouver, and they are wondering what universities you all went to. So, Phyllis, I don't know if you'd love to start us off with that.
Sure. I went to UBC. So I did my undergraduate for engineering at UBC. And then I also did my graduate school. I got my master's at UBC. But because I teach at BCIT, I do like see that side of it as well. And I do see the differences in the different universities. So I think it depends on your personal preference as to what makes a good university for engineering or otherwise.
Awesome. Thank you, Phyllis. And Lindsay, if you could go next.
Yeah, sure. So I went to University of Alberta for my undergrad, and then I moved to London, Ontario, and did my master program at Western University. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so you explored a bit.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And
Yeah.
Affy.
I went to UBC and got my bachelor's in geography, in environment and sustainability. And then after that, I went to BCIT and I got my advanced technical diploma in GIS. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so some overlap there with you and Phyllis.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and if any of you viewing have more questions, of course, please feel free to put them in the chat. And thanks to Alice and Jenna for their questions. The next thing I was hoping you all could address is what is something about your industry, the work you're in, that surprised you when you started? And Phyllis, if you'd be willing to start us off with that one. What surprised you?
That's a good question. I wouldn't say, like, I feel like I sort of has expectations going into the career. And to be honest, I think it mostly is what I had thought it to be. I do think that one of the things that was interesting was the different variety of jobs and the different positions that you can hold, the different types of companies you can work for, just within like a really small field. And so I think maybe that was the thing that was surprising at how similar you can be with somebody else, but also how different it could really be.
It's very cool. And is that just like within Vancouver you notice that? Is it across Canada? There's a lot of opportunity.
I think it's even globally, like it's just like all sorts of different things, right? Like if you take one sector, let's say civil engineering, for example, you can be working on bridges like Lindsay is doing right now, or you can be working with like underground networks. You could be working with designing roadways. You can be working on like preventing landslides, like just a sheer volume of different types of careers and ways that you can help the society is so broad.
Oh, that's awesome. And Emma is asking, and I'm assuming this is directed toward you, Phyllis, but what different positions are there that you're referring to that are possible?
So that's a really, really big question. Usually,
yeah, I'm assuming there's just like you could just mention.
Usually, it's like a whole lecture in my first year classroom, but it's basically you can work for a government, right? Like, so you can work for a government. You can work with like the cities or like Ministry of Transportation. You can work private sector, like private companies. You can work in an institution, like I do, like teaching. And then within those, like all of the different types of engineering that I talked about, even just within civil engineering, those are all subtypes that you could work on, right? So basically anything to do with infrastructure, the dams, the roadways, energy, buildings, anything like that is a possibility. And then, of course, there's different types of work like office work, or you could do like inspection work, you could do field work. There's just so much to choose from.
That's awesome to know. Yeah, for people listening, hopefully there's a lot of opportunities there if they're interested in that. Afi, do you want to go next with what surprised you the most about your work industry?
Sure. I think what surprised me the most is just the amount of things you can do and the amount of things you can specialize in. So I think for me, talking about it, you've probably noticed that one of my favorite things is actually making the maps and making them pretty, and that's something I really love doing. But some of my colleagues, their specialty is in modeling the future. So they take data from right now, and they apply it to the future to show that, for example, if we remove this many cars from Vancouver, this is how it'll impact climate change in the future, which is really awesome, really fascinating stuff. And I'm so glad I get to see it, even though it's not something that I personally specialize in. I'm not like really knowledgeable about modeling and stuff like that. But it's, it's really awesome to be able to get to see all of the different things that people do.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I wouldn't have thought you would have encountered that kind of thing in your work.
Yeah, it's one of our biggest things that we do. Even we model like how Vancouver is going to grow in the future, where different buildings might end up, stuff like that.
Very neat. Thank you. And Lindsay, if we could tell us what surprised you the most, and then I think we'll finish up with Phyllis.
Okay, so my answer actually kind of overlap with Phyllis. I kind of surprised like how the project, there are different sectors involved in one project. I thought like maybe just people going on site, build a bridge, but actually there are a lot of sectors like the governments who initiate a project, and then they pass along to consultant to design a bridge, and finally the contractor to actually go on site and build a bridge. And even within the consultant itself, there are different parts like the business development people who write a proposal, and the engineers who got to design, and like the CAD, the drafter who draw the drawings. Yeah, there are a lot of people involved in a bridge. That's a bridge project. That's something that surprised me. Yeah.
That's really cool. And I'm also glad to hear that because I drive on those bridges all the time. Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. And Phyllis, if we could just have you finish up for us. We have about a minute and
thank you. Thank you for allowing me the time to do that. I just wanted to speak with the attendees basically and talk a little bit about just keeping your mind open. And I think innovation is a big part of like anything to do with your career, whatever it may be in STEAM. And just wanted to share this one photo that I did. And it's part of the outreach that I do, just inspiring kids. And you'll see like the two photos on the left is actually when I went into a kindergarten classroom, and I gave the assignment with pieces of paper, one glue stick, and I asked the students to think about a bridge that can actually span the little gap that you see in between the little desk and have a car be able to drive through it. And a lot of students just took, like what I was telling them, and how triangles are really strong shapes, and they build all these like trusses with triangles. And then, but the one that surprised me the most and that I was very, very proud of, and I told the students, is the one you see on the bottom, where the students actually glued the paper to the desk so that it could be really strong and hold up the cars. And that's completely about it being innovative, thinking outside of the box. And I think that is something that I really enjoy seeing. And then you'll see that on the right-hand side, that's actually a Science World trip that I took with the same students. And I think that was maybe 3 years after I did that with them in the classroom. And you can see that they've built more impressive bridge structures.
That is really cool. That's awesome when you can see kids have that inspiration and come up with something completely new like that. Awesome. So we are coming to the end of our time here. And so we'd like to thank you all for joining us today. And huge thank you to our wonderful mentors, Afi and Lindsay and Phyllis. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your experiences with us and all the cool things you do. That was really interesting. And if you could please return to the mainstream in our lobby for the next activity. So thank you all so much for joining us.